Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Angel Face Magic Hour podcast. I'm excited we're back with a repeat guest. We're back with the Gangster Hippie, Adriana. I'm excited to be with you. I'm just going to have you briefly introduce yourself. If you guys don't know her, you can check out our previous episode and I'll link that in the show notes. That was like, I can't even remember. I'll look it up, but I think it was like a year or longer ago. So time flies, time moves quickly. So I'm excited to have you back. And yeah, just briefly introduce yourself to us, just who you are and where you are. And if there's any words that you would use to sum up your work as a gangster hippie.
My name is Adriana. I live in the Californias, and I would describe my work in the Gangster Hippie as provocateur more than anything. I like to cause disruptions. I like to really provoke thought more than anything. And I think we also pulled the cards transformation and enthusiasm, which I think are very poignant for me because I really feel like I'm going into a transformation, a personal transformation personally, because I'm almost 30. And that's like a significant point in a woman's life, specifically just because like you just have all these internal hormonal shifts. And so you kind of start to reconsider, I guess, things and or aspects in your life or personality, things of that nature that you perhaps want to change as you go into a different part of womanhood.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 33 this year, so
Oh,
I
like
understand. I do too. I'm excited about it. I think like it's interesting because are you past your Saturn return?
I think so. I felt really tumultuous these past 2 years in terms of kind of having that you can describe it kind of like as an existential or nihilistic thread, like who am I, why am I here type of thing. And part of that was most likely brought on by COVID, everything really shifting, and then like not really feeling comfortable in Los Angeles anymore and kind of moving out of the city, acclimating to that.
And you've lived there your whole life, right?
Yeah. I was like born and raised in LA. I'd never wanted to leave. And then suddenly it did not feel like home. So that in itself was, I guess you can say, a little bit traumatizing to myself because like it was part of my identity. I'm like, oh yes, this is who I am. And all of a sudden not feeling like my home was weird. I think it still is a little weird and I'm still getting used to it. The city just changed a lot in a very short amount of time. I think we also have like the rise of the influencer to thank for that. And it just feels very synthetic. And now I'm in a neighborhood where everything like that would probably be the least important thing.
It's content.
Yeah.
Day in the life of an LA, East LA girly. I see those videos of like the LA cool girl videos. I'm like, these people have been in LA for like 1 minute.
I know. Oh my gosh. The one thing that is really humorous to me is the Erewhon hauls, because I'm like, listen, no, stop, please. Like I'm just trying to get to Erewhon. I just want like my blue
I saw that the tote bags are $175 for the tote bag.
Okay,
I was like, damn, these people know how to market. Like they know how to get money. Like that's smart.
At one point the parking lots were so busy they offered valet parking.
Oh my god.
See, this is why I
wait, so I have a question about that. Yes. Have you tried the seamoss? What's the deal with that?
Oh, I've never tried seamoss. It does not look appetizing. It's the same thing with ayahuasca. I'm like, it's just not calling to me, guys. Like no seamoss, no ayahuasca for me.
I'm like curious, but I'm like, I don't want to buy. Like, I see it at Erewhon now. Well, I can't go there because we don't have it, but I see the TikToks and like the seamoss in the jars, and then I see like people like selling it like their plugs. It'll be like on Snapchat videos, like, I got the seamoss hookup, and like, it's like, where are you buying the seamoss? It seems really sus to me.
I don't know, but I think the seamoss thing has been going around for a while.
I'm just getting on the
Oh,
seamoss
maybe it
algorithm.
just hit TikTok.
It just hit the TikTok algorithm.
And now everybody won't stop. Wait. So there's CMOS at Erewhon now. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe that's why it's popping off, because now
yeah.
all the
I
cool
see it like it's
people
in the
have it.
jars, you know.
Yeah,
And then
no,
they have it's like strawberry sea moss or like
of
blue
course it has
algae
stuff.
sea moss.
Yeah,
It's
of
like different
course,
colors.
of
But
course.
I'm like, that's still gonna be really great. I mean, I would just take it in like a capsule if I was gonna take it. I don't
I,
know.
I I can't even do some of the little shots. I'm like, it's too much. Like wheatgrass shots are like they taste
I've never
equivalent.
had a wheatgrass shot in my life, but I've had a lot of wellness things, but I've never tried wheatgrass.
See, I feel like it's just antiquated. Do you remember just like the 90s when they just had like the little panels of wheatgrass,
I
or
was
maybe
just
the
like
early
imagining those in
2000s?
my mind when you brought it up. Yeah, the wheatgrass. I I don't know. I not that I abide by it very well because I do in fact eat bread, but I do have an intolerance to wheat. So for some reason in my mind, I'm like, I can't have wheatgrass, but then I'll eat a pastry. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited. Before we got on the call, I was just like kind of tuning in and checking in like about with spirit, kind of like what I wanted to bring into the conversation. And I thought it'd just be kind of interesting to talk about. That's a kind of a good place to start with like the transformation of self, like talking about tuning into the different aspects of ourself. And we have both a divine feminine and divine masculine. And I think I would like to hear how you would explain the difference and how you feel like I feel like you have your own rituals and things like that. So I'm curious about what you use to tap into that side.
I think right now people feel like it's a contentious subject because of what's happening from a pop culture perspective. But the point being is these are just energies. Everybody has them within. It's like when you attach all this like shenanigans to it, that I feel like people don't quite understand it, because it's just like an overall feeling. Like we all have these energies present, and we also just have like both. And there's that gray area, like that's the Venn diagram, right? Like right now we're in the gray area because like in society, everyone plays these roles at a certain point. Like now you have stay-at-home dads, and at a certain point, like that was maybe socially frowned upon. Now it's socially acceptable. So you see that rise. So there's like not role reversals, but just like people are adapting to the energies within in a different way. But I mean, the fact of the matter is like we all have a yin and a yang within. We all need a yin and a yang, right? And then biologically, like male and female, just like they have different ways of thinking, they have different ways of responding, they have different hormonal levels, they have different
No, we
strength
have like
levels.
different hormones. And I think
Yeah.
that is
So
like so much of it. Like we go, like at least with
particularly as women.
women,
Mhm.
we have that cycle that's like a 28 to 30-day cycle, and men like are going to cycle through their hormones in a day. So I feel like even just that is such a difference in the way we might process things. Like we're going to process things more slowly. I see.
Exactly. So for me, just like I am a woman who runs a business and helps other women run their business. So in that sense, like I have to be a bit more declarative in my statements, in my goals. And I have to hold people accountable. I have to manage people. You would call that like a masculine aspect, right? It's like the go-getter. It's like the person that goes out there. It's like the provider energy, right? Versus like the feminine aspects are just like, well, I don't want to like always go out and do those things. Like I want to nurture myself. That's a very feminine aspect. I want to go slow. I want to enjoy life. The whole like stop and smell the roses thing. Like that's like very much what I feel like when I'm in my feminine element. Like I truly do stop and smell the roses. I have a different way of being. I have a different perspective. Everything's slow. And when I'm really inundated with like being in my masculine, like it's all about work. It's all about getting things done at a certain point. Like I'm like not in my feelings specifically. Like I'm not in my element. I'm very much in my head. That's why I have compassion for men at times, because I'm like heavy, like heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like that is a very specific frequency to be in all the time, right? There's not necessarily space that's held for men as well, just in general. And I'm happy to see a movement within like the health and wellness community supporting men, because that like men need their own spaces. They need to feel seen, they need to feel heard as well, and that's how they can have their own healing. And in essence, like men just like feeling seen, feeling heard, like that gives them the ability to provide space for the divine feminine, which is like just allowing ladies to be ladies and letting like this beautiful energy rise, allowing us to create, allowing us to nurture. And at the same time, like we can also be really strong in like how we create things and how we shift things, how we lead. Like both perspectives are very essential to just like humanity's well-being. But I
Yeah, and the
feel like
feminine is not only like weak, like I think people, I was saying this to you like before we got on the call, like I think people just associate with like weakness or like softness, and like it's not necessarily
no, she's very
just
resilient.
that. Like
Yeah.
it's, of course we want to tap into the yin, which is like relaxing and like allowing, but it's not like doing nothing and like
Yeah.
sitting around.
I notice it a lot. Like I carry a lot of tension when I'm like in my masculine element, specifically for work, when I'm like really trying to get things done. Sometimes I feel like if I'm too soft or too welcoming, specifically in work settings, people don't take me seriously and stuff doesn't get done. Sometimes I need to be stern to get stuff done. Mind you, like that's in a work environment, but that doesn't necessarily feel natural to myself. Like sometimes I come home and when I really relax, like I can, like, you know how sometimes in like yoga classes they're like, oh, check in with yourself, like where are you holding tension? Like it's usually in my hips, which like as a woman, like that's where our power center is. It's mainly in our hips, because like a lot of energy needs to be moved consistently in our lifetime, like through our cycle, like having children, like all these crazy things need to happen around our hip area as women. So I notice that a lot, like when I'm done with work and I actually want to relax, like that part of my body needs like extra love sent to it, and then I fully relax and I feel good. Otherwise I'm just like really tensed up and it just doesn't feel natural. Like I feel like I'm not being myself.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. Like, I mean, there's so many perspectives in different like modalities or whatever, but in certain parts of Reiki, they talk about how women traditionally are center is, yeah, in the sacral, and the men it's more in the root. So I think it's interesting that to get grounded, we really have to get into that. I see we have to get into that creative space, or literally doing some kind of movement with the hips. And I notice so many like of my clients, like with facials, they get so much tension in the jaw, and our jaw is like directly linked with our hips. So I feel like we automatically just close ourselves off when we're in like fear, which is unfortunately a large amount of time people are in that fear state.
Yeah, and I think that's I took dance class when I was younger, and I've carried that practice as much as I can throughout my life, because once again, like it brings me to my power center as a woman in my hips. And I feel like when I take dance classes, like I feel very free. I feel creative. You just flow. You're having fun. You come out in a better mood because you also moved your body. You have like a little dopamine going on. You really, really get in touch with yourself as well. You also connect with people. You make like little bonds, which is nice. It's something that we lost during like the pandemic. Yeah, I don't know. That's one of the practices that I think is just very important to me. and I think I'm still a little tender to perform because it's been so private. And I think because I'm going through my own personal transformation, like everything is just very tender right now for me. But I'm also very excited because when you push yourself to change, you also get like an opportunity to try new things. So I think dancing in public for me, like in my personal life, is going to be next because I'm nervous about that. I'm not nervous about performing, which is interesting, but I'm nervous to just like dance and have fun in my personal life and be seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I can feel that. Like, I think there's such a big difference between you're separated.
Mhm.
You're like you and not like an object, but you're like the on display rather than like when it's not interactive in the same way. Like if you're on display like in a room of people and they can just come up to you, like that's way different than when you're like the piece rather than like, yeah, an interactive thing.
Yeah. And just like a performance is just that, it's a performance. It's very rehearsed. That's why I think just going back to dance classes for me has just been fun. Like going back to the basics of myself and what I find the most enjoyable. Like even now talking about is relaxing it for me. Like all the things I found fun in my childhood, coming back to that, I think has been very essential for my personal transformation, just like as I go from like my 20s into my 30s.
Yeah, that's so interesting you say that because I did like a reading for the podcast like 2 weeks ago or something, and that was like this big message that keeps coming up for me personally and like just collectively, like going back to these things that we found transformational or helpful for us like in that stage of life, like specifically like 8 to like 14 is what kept coming up. So
Oh,
it's interesting that you're feeling that too, like kind of just, yeah, rekindling, like, I don't know, they explain it like a
this is
realization
like,
of
it's the
self.
word we picked out,
Yeah,
enthusiasm. I think
exactly. Like the joy, the playfulness, like
yeah. And I think that just
juicy.
specifically has to do with just like there was an obsession with death for a very long time that I think like that people need to get excited about life again. I kept saying this thing and it sounded very morbid, but it was just like, I think you're scared of dying because you're not living. And it was very off-putting for people. Like it rubbed people the wrong way, but that's what
That gives me like full body
I
chills.
know I know because it's a very, very
It's so
powerful
true,
statement. It's
yeah.
something that's like just so I think it's riveting, but people are just like, what is wrong with you? Like that is way too aggressive of a statement. Like that's too real. I don't like it. And I get it
And
because
that's why it's uncomfortable
it's riveting.
because it calls them into their, feelings. Like that is something, and I see that in myself too, even before the pandemic, like just like my personal transformation, like stopping drugs, like getting into spiritual healing, like all this transformation, like I definitely do not go out in the world the same way that I
Mhm.
used to. And I think a lot, and just American society in general, it's like we're scared of like fucking being shot or some shit. Like everything is a scary experience, even if we're not actively thinking about it. It's like subconscious. I feel like just from everyone's energy, it's like everyone's on edge.
Yeah. And I mean, that's totally valid.
That's
What
life.
were you being, but what was being specifically fed to you? Like what was the mainstream narrative being put out there? I mean, to this day,
Yeah.
they're just like, it still poses an inherent risk. Like you should probably just stay home. Like that's still being broadcasted out there. So I understand that entirely. And I understand because like I felt victim to that mindset as well. I just decided that it was just not a way I felt comfortable living my life. Then I like got sick and it was like pretty terrible. But then I also caught the flu like this past holiday and like that was pretty terrible too. And I'm like, okay, the new contagions just really kick you in the butt, and then your immune system is like, I beat it, and then you just like come alive again. Um, yeah, I don't
And
know.
we
I'm
have to, like, we have to start interacting. I see it so much just in like going out in the world. Everyone doesn't look at each. I think that's just a last forever with the phones and everything. No one looks at each other. It's just awkward. I'm like, you guys
Yeah.
need to like relax. Like,
Yeah, someone was remarking that no one wants to have in-person conversations anymore. They prefer to have like little real-time chat rooms where they can have Discord, but they don't have to talk, they just type.
I hate that.
That's really weird
I'm
to
very
me.
online, but I still hate that.
I think it's very odd. I'm down with like not really showing your face all the time though, because sometimes you be like, when you be just like not ready to work, but you're like, okay, I'll take this early morning meeting, and like that's amazing. Like I don't really need to see your face, I just need to hear your voice. That makes me more than happy. But like that too, like people just doing straight pajamas all the time now, like not really having outfits on. I'm like, I'm guilty of this too. I'll be like in my like workout athleisure
Yeah,
look.
I'm like leggings. I became a leggings person.
I know, but I just mean like that's part of the problem. I feel like we just gave up a little bit as a society. We don't want to really try anymore, but that's not what we need. Like we need community.
Yeah, we
Um,
need it.
that's why people are really unhappy right now, which makes me sad. Um, yeah, but like the way to combat loneliness is through community, but people are scared to engage in said community. It's very weird. Also people are just rude on the internet. Like brazenly rude. I don't know what that's about. Like you would never speak to someone the way you do on the internet as you would in real life. And if you did, like I don't know. That does not seem
You're
like it would bode well. It seems like a fight
no.
would break, like a Waffle House style fight would break
Yeah, so you're
down.
gonna get your ass beat.
And like just like and like particularly, I feel like in LA though it doesn't matter anymore. It used to be like per neighborhood, like you were like, you got to be careful. Now I feel like people don't care because of the internet, and that's dangerous, girl. Like you never know. This is what I say to young women. I'm just like don't antagonize people. You don't know who you're messing with on the street. And like specifically because I live in a giant city at times, Los Angeles, I'm just like people are nuts. Like you never know. So just like I don't know, like don't be entitled, don't be brazen, like don't like pick your battles wisely, because you never know. I don't know, the city's wild. People will just like pop off for no reason.
Yeah, and people, I feel like people hold a lot of like, yeah, just unseen baggage. You never know when someone's like not having a good day, like they're not gonna react well.
Exactly. I mean, like I know from my experience, like if I'm having a bad day and someone just like pushes it way too far, like that's it, I'm done. Like I mean, like I'm sorry that you were the brunt of like my insanity at this moment, but it was just not the moment.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to say something. I feel like women, especially we're like told to not say anything, but there's a fine line between like, yeah, standing up for yourself and then like antagonizing a problem.
Yeah. I don't know. You're just not okay. So this is my point about how we are biologically different. Like one person can overpower you as a woman. Like if they are a man, they will most likely be able to overpower you. That's just most likely, unless you're like a bodybuilder or you're really strong. That's just a statistical fact. Which is probably going to upset certain people, but like that can just happen. That's why you have to like be really careful. Like I remember LA being totally safe,
No, I
and
think
then
people should like, I don't know how to defend myself like that. Like people should learn like about
oh yes,
self-defense.
yes they
Like
should.
that's I think I think it's silly to think that you would know how to defend yourself. And you never know how you would react in a situation like that too. Like you might freeze, you might, yeah,
Well,
just,
that is the point of the self-defense training. It's like, so when you encounter the situation, you basically just have muscle memory and you know what to do.
yeah.
Um, because I do have some self-defense training, or just like karate, like just like grown-up karate should be normalized. So that like women feel safe to a certain point, because it's getting really dicey out there. I just like have a specific example. Like pre-pandemic, I felt fine walking down the streets of Hollywood like at 1, 2 in the morning. I left somewhere like at 10:30 and someone followed me home. And it was just a matter of me having a situational awareness and acting accordingly that kept me safe. Because as soon as I got in my car, this person just turned around and it was just like a vagrant. And I'm like, this person just looked shady. They felt shady. I was just like, I feel like I'm being hunted right now. This is weird. And this just goes back to like us being very instinctual animals. Like if you've ever looked at an animal, even though you're like, oh, look at how cute they are, and they're dead asleep, like usually your animal will wake up because that's like a self-defense
Yeah.
mechanism. That's what
Yeah.
kept you safe. Because if a predator was looking at you, like you like awoke because you were like, I feel like someone is looking at me, and you can still intuitively feel that. And I think like that's part of the remark of the evil eye as well. Like that's why people put it up in social media now too, because people just look to hate. And then like that's pretty much still like that's our version of predator prey, specifically online with social media. Like haters just be there to hate.
Yeah, and I think there's very different types of people on the internet. Like, and I think there's one type of person who just uses it to fuel their, like, I don't know if it's self-hate or just like it's a pleasure thing for them to troll, but like that's what they do on there. They're not there to like do anything other than to be trolls.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
can't imagine being a troll.
I'm guilty of like sometimes trolling people when they're being ridiculous. I'm like, friend, like you're being ridiculous.
But you're
Like
not
I'm
going to
going
do
to
it
just
to
tell you.
random, like seek out like people's pages that you don't even follow.
Oh no, it's usually to a comment where you're just like, you are just being obscene, and this is why. Or they're just like, if someone's out of left field, and you're just like, no, this is out of left field, and then everybody's just having a dialogue at that point where you're just like, what is this person doing? Like, why are they being so crazy? Or if I make a joke, okay, those are like mainly what my comments on the internet are, where I'm just like cracking a joke, or I'm just giving my general thought after being asked by a creator, what do you guys think of this? And then I'm like, this is exactly what I think of this.
Yeah, and
And then
I don't think there's anything wrong with stating your opinion. I want people to interact. Um, but I don't know. I don't know it's like a mentality for certain people. I don't know what is in their
I
mind.
mean, we're prone to be negative in our brain. There is such a thing as negativity bias, but I think the internet takes it to a whole nother level. I mean, let's be real. There are some pretty atrocious things happening in this world, but we're also not like psychologically built to obtain this much bad news at all times. That's why we
Yeah.
just like, that's why the internet is so weird, because you can get all the information all the time, or you can see anything that you want to see.
You're like scrolling, it's like cute pics of dogs and it's like hot people, and then like oil spill, like Russian war, like then you're like, oh, like there's a grandma like telling their son that they love them. Like it's just like it's just
Yeah.
I
Is
think
that
the part that is hard is that it goes from here to that, not like when you are specifically wanting to interact with something where it's like learning about what's
yeah.
going on or political things, but you're like being fed like cognitive
Yeah, because
dissonance
this is
drip.
just the algorithm, right? It's just
Oh,
like what's
TikTok,
being
yeah.
fed to you. And effectively that algorithm is a form of artificial intelligence,
Oh yeah, I'm
right?
very scared.
So
Yes.
because you know how there's like chat GBT or
I haven't
GPT or
played with it,
whatever.
but I've been
I
hearing all about it.
Okay, same. And all I have to say is no. Like everyone is so unhappy with just social media alone. Like I cannot imagine what another form of artificial intelligence like is going to get you. Like what if you ask it a question, like it's worse than googling. Like you google something and you get some random information. You could be on Wikipedia and someone could change it to troll,
Yeah.
mind you, and just like totally screw up this thing. And then you basically have what our favorite orange man dubbed as the fake news going around. Like it's just this really weird vicious cycle. Like not that like history is accurate to begin with because it's written by winners per se and people manipulate it, but at least there was just like a designated point back in the day to get information, you know, like there wasn't the internet, there were encyclopedias, and like it was a collective effort and it was edited and judged by a select group of people
Yeah, now
who,
anyone could be like
yeah,
anything. And now with all the damn like check mark stuff and all the scammers, it's like, oh my gosh, like how are we ever gonna know anything's like not yet like a fake version?
yeah. And with the rise of AI, what is it? Someone was just saying that you can an artist can allegedly make music now without ever
Yeah, I was
making the
just joking
music.
to my sibling about this. So my sibling teaches high school and they're doing a whole like little unit about AI and talking to kids
Mhm.
about plagiarism and stuff because they don't want these
Mm.
kids to be like write an essay about of mice and men like
Mhm.
the one page and the chat GPT writes the essay for them. So they were doing this unit about it. But recently someone did an AI version of a Drake song and it's like I love Drake, unfortunately. So I was like listening to it and I showed it to my sibling and I was like, show it to your kids and stuff. But I was joking to them that like this is how like the singularity starts. Like we are listening to the Drake AI songs and we're like, I love this. And then we're putting on the AI filters, like I love this. And it's innocent, but that leads somewhere. And that's what kind of makes me nervous that it's just
Yeah,
like
I have to
a
agree
way
with
for
you
us to
there.
tap in
Yeah.
to a not good
It's
timeline.
the start. Oh my God. I have these like conversations sometimes really late at night with
Yeah.
people, and I'm like, it's the start of the grays. It's the start of the aliens. Like you, if I put on my little tin
Well,
hat,
yeah,
like you cannot
they're
convince
like
me
the
otherwise.
future version of us where we like, well, that's
Yeah.
what some people say, that we lost all of our emotions and then they're coming back to like tell us well, like don't do this, but also can we take some of your organs because we need them to
Because
like
we need them.
reproduce because we lost all of our genitalia or whatever.
But
So yeah.
it's funny because like I know that tin hat theory, and like a part of me buys into it, right? Because I'm like oddly enough, like this kind of makes sense. Like at a certain
That
point,
makes
like
sense to me more than other things.
yeah, but like if you look at the way society's going and like the trends right now, like people are just acting impulsively on emotion and they're moving forward with things and sayings and philosophies and ideological thought conversions. And I'm just like, but like, you don't know if this works long term. It's kind of like how you have young idealistic people whose parents are usually well off that are like really into communism, and I'm just like, but that hasn't
Yeah.
really worked out for people. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and like how would you know? You're like literally living in a first world country that is like the richest nation on the face of the planet. I'm like, don't you think maybe you should like go to those nations and like see what's up, like
Yeah, they're like
obviously.
the Karl Marx theorists or whatever. I'm like, you guys are like 13 years old. But I do remember like kids in middle school like being like that. I remember this one specific kid that wrote a whole essay about how he like stands basically Karl Marx, but also he thinks that he's like God. I don't know. It was a crazy, I had to like proofread his essay and I still think about it and I'm 32 years old.
Wait, how old was he?
This was like 7th or 8th grade.
So what, you're like 12, 13?
Yeah.
See, like why? Like how did he even find out
And yeah,
about Karl
I was
Marx?
a white child living in the suburbs. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's like a
But see, like this is literally the
ideal.
group
I
that's
don't know.
most susceptible to be like manipulated. Like I'm okay, I'm gonna bring her up. I'm gonna bring up Patty Hearst. Like girl, okay, like you got off on your charge because of Stockholm syndrome, but also like let's just talk about like you straight up got manipulated like real quick because you were in a place of privilege and you're just like, this makes sense, like let's go, like.
Well,
And
and
then
in
she went
general,
like
just cults are like way more white, like even just all the stuff in the 70s and everything. It's like the hippie, even before that hippies, it's all like, I don't know, like
you're like a lot of middle class children, a lot of them.
what's that book? Ugh, Catcher in the Rye. Did you
Wait,
read that book?
no, I never
It
read
was a
it.
book and I had to read in high school, but it's like there's a character that is like that. It's like this, I don't know, like trying to prove that you're
You're like going against it, that you're a counterculture,
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
You're like,
exactly. That's the exactly. It's just like,
I'm
but
not
I
part of the
think people get
man.
sucked into these weird ideas because at first they're like, oh, this is like subversive and weird, like um whatever it's called, Charles Manson and stuff. They're like, oh, let me do
Yeah.
acid, and then now all of a sudden you're like getting involved in violent, horrible
I
things.
know.
It's like, what the fuck is happening here?
See, that's where it can just go terribly wrong. Yeah. Ooh, I mean, I don't know. I feel like LA is almost very cult like in that aspect. And when you leave and you come back, you're like, what's happening here? Like, I forget that people are um so plastic, and that there's a lot of like, everyone really wants to get procedures, everyone is really into reality TV, and as we all know, like none of those things are real. Specifically with body modification via like plastic surgery or fillers or Botox and whatnot, like all of those things more or less go on trends. Like you'd see that with BBLs, like those are really popular, and
Everyone's getting the remove
now everyone is getting them removed in their face as well, because it's about being really thin
yeah,
now.
now it's coming back to the
Yeah.
skinny
Yeah.
aesthetic,
And
which is like
you can argue that
uh,
that is backlash to the body positive movement, and seeing like it was never bad. Like we wanted diversity, we wanted to see it, but I feel like people might have just gone a little bit overboard, which is what humans always do. And then there was a lot of people that had backlash to it.
and part
And
of that was like a more of like a fat activism thing, and people didn't really understand the political side of that, and we're just taking it on and without having actual beliefs. They're just like, I don't know, everyone takes everything as a fad. They don't know like the history behind things, and I think it's important to know those things if you're gonna like be part of them.
yeah, and I think once again, like that has to do with just like the rise of like social media trends, specifically with TikTok, because it's just like it's all about the trend, and the trends are super short now. Attention spans are even shorter. Um, it's very, very bizarre to see. Very bizarre to see. People now are being very conditioned to have short-term thinking, and that is because of social media. I think it's just like because they just have shorter attention spans. They can't necessarily be analytical, or maybe they don't want to be analytical about long-term stuff. And I feel like, especially as a young person, like you're not ready to make these big decisions. You should be allowed to make mistakes. As
No,
like
I
that.
have clients like who gone Botox and stuff, and they're like 20. I'm like, it's you don't need to do that.
Yeah, and it's all on the grounds of preventative treatment. And I'm like, but there are non-invasive preventative treatments that you can take. More importantly, like, how are you actually taking care of your health? Like, are you drinking enough water? Are you
Yeah.
getting enough like nutrients? Like, are you taking vitamins? Like, what are you actually doing to like make sure that your body long term is going to be okay?
I think
Like,
that's such American, well, probably like other places too, but such an American thing of like, we want to just fix this. Okay, I have a wrinkle right here or right here. And I see that with clients all the time. Like they just want the solution. They want to take Accutane, they want to get Botox. Like they don't want to actually address, yeah, okay, there's hormonal issues or there's something going on with your nutrients and like just long-term health stuff. Like with of course, I don't care what anyone fucking does to their body. Like it's your body. If you want to get Botox or like a BBL, like, and I'll think you look good too. But I personally just I'm nervous about those things because there is no long-term studies to know about those things yet because there hasn't been like generations of people doing this.
yeah,
So we
I mean,
really don't know.
you can see it with like breast plant illness, and now like the awareness campaigns behind that. Like people were ignored when they were making their complaints, and they were saying that they were linked to their implants, and now people are finally believing them, and there's like a lot of explant surgeries that are happening.
I haven't seen that.
It doesn't happen to everyone. It does happen to some people, and those people weren't being believed, and now they are, and that took a really long time to happen.
I've noticed too, and like obviously I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, like this is just my theory, but I have noticed some people who have gotten those surgeries, just like influencers and stuff, also have like autoimmune conditions. So I'm like, okay, maybe if you have some sensitivity like that, like obviously your body's not going to take well to putting in like a foreign object.
Yeah, it's
But I
going to take
also
it as
think,
a contagion.
yeah, I also think like those things could possibly influence the worsening of like a condition like that. So it just makes me nervous. I don't know enough about that.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately they are elective procedures, like they're not necessary.
Yeah, it's not like you're sewing your organs back in or something.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
ultimately it's just like, why do you want those things? I ask people this question all the time. Like, why do you want this? And I think the very first thing that asked me this was a crystal. And when I was engaging in a more like consumerist, like fill the void type time in my life. It feels like forever ago, my early 20s. But yeah, I think it was an apophyllite crystal. Was just like, why do you want all of this? Like, is it actually serving you? Like, it just seems like you're just like doing the same thing with a different topic. Like, you allegedly are leaving behind or want to leave behind these traits and are just doing it again. And that was very shocking to me.
ugh,
It was
the
like,
fucking
it was way too,
shade.
I know it was way too real. It was too deep of a read.
You were like, fuck.
Yeah, and I think after that I just stopped going to circles in that location because yeah, it was not a community that actually served me. I thought it was, and it was at a certain point, and then it started becoming unhealthy. And it's funny, like the medicine itself was just like, what are you doing? Like, do you realize what's happening here? And I was like, oh, whoa, like, no, I guess I didn't. I like needed to be called out on my own bullshit.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. Like, I think sometimes it shows up in many ways, like we need to integrate all the stuff that we're going through. So whether that's like, oh, I'm shopping and like buying all these clothes, it's like, okay, actually wear the clothes you bought, or like more of that metaphysical thing, like you have to integrate the energy. But I think I don't know, we're just so accustomed, I think, to more, like you just want more and more and more, like because that's what they tell us that we need, like whether that's, looking on social media
Yeah,
or
but
just in your life. We don't.
we don't. I mean, don't get
I
me
love
wrong, it's
pretty things. I
nice.
love it.
So
I'm
do
not saying I
I.
don't.
Yeah, but I think right now, like even reading like Marie Kondo's like The Art of Tidying Up, and just like her philosophy too, it's just like, will this actually serve me? And even when I buy items, like I really look at myself and I'm like, does this spark joy in my life? Like, will this serve me, or will it just be sitting here? If this is sitting here, like, should I give it away? It will make someone else happy, it will serve someone else. I'm like, why am I holding on to these material items? Like they're not serving me just sitting here. Like, I don't get joy from this article of clothing anymore. Like, why are you keeping it? These are all just like questions I think we're not conditioned to ask ourselves as a society either. It's all about like go, 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 more, more, more. And I don't think that's necessarily healthy. Like, we as humans on a fundamental level, like we just needed to have all of our base needs met. And then we evolved using certain practices. And then this idea of needing basically all of this useless shit came about into our consciousness. Like even now, like I want to get this useless thing like I don't need. And I'm like, why? Like, I have this already. But it's just questions that I decided to ask myself because I just didn't want to mindlessly consume anymore. It just felt weird. Like, I remember just being in a YSL store and I was just like, everybody here just feels so empty. They feel so void. Like, no one's having fun shopping.
Yeah,
And
it's
it felt
supposed to
just so
be like an
sad. It's supposed to be fun. Yeah,
experience.
everybody was
Yeah.
just there for clout on their phones taking videos. And I'm like, I would never, like, that's just no, like, you're not even present, or you were just there to post a video, which is, I don't know, that's like even worse. I don't know what's weird, like not being present when you're at dinner or shopping for Instagram clout, or just showing up to the restaurant or like store to film a video just for clout and then leaving.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was thinking about that this morning because there's like an influencer trip going on right now, like where all these people are going to Turks and Caicos with like Tarte, like that beauty brand. So I was like seeing all
Mhm.
these videos and I was like, that's so amazing. Like, good for you. Like, yay. Cause like that's cool for them to have like such a crazy experience. But I was just thinking about how stressful it would be to be on this amazing like vacation where they're feeding you alcohol and food and like you have to be like taking videos the whole time. And like I would that would be like the you just lose the whole point of the trip. You're just
Yeah.
like, having having to
Yeah.
take like 35 million videos of everything. I was like, oh, I feel kind of like this is more work than just a normal day for them.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, just going back to the conversation, like that to me is in itself like being in your masculine, where you're like always producing something, like
Yeah.
always trying to monopolize it, like always trying to get clout. Um,
And
it's
that's
just
like the
it's
opposite of what I
exhausting.
think people think of like an influencer. It's like they're just like paid to be themselves. But honestly, it's like if they're
They're paid to
huge
be a
like that,
character of
yeah,
themselves.
they're paid to be a character, and then they're not even like someone like the Kardashians. Like it's probably less stressful for them because they have a whole crew. Like, but to be
Mhm.
like a social media girl, like, oh my God, that's so much work. Like it is like that masculine energy. I feel like they don't ever get that rest.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at a certain point, you're also conditioned, particularly in an American society where rest is something that is earned, when actually rest is something that's actually essential for your output levels. If we really want to get like American about it, without proper rest, like you produce less. The more
Yeah.
you work, the more tired you are, the less you can produce. And just like being um sick taught me that. Um, and if I don't have proper rest, like I cannot function. I cannot be my best self. If I'm overstimulated in my environment, it's the same thing. Like I cannot produce my best results. Like I really need to be in my flow to be creative. I feel like I haven't been able to really flow these past couple of years. And I've been in like survival mode. And that has also been exhausting because of just like policies and whatnot in the city have just affected a segment of my business. Like COVID too is affecting like another aspect of my business. It's just been exhausting. Like people are tired. I feel like we're checked out, we're zoned out. We really just like, I think that's also why the quote unquote divine feminine is rising. Like we all got through like surviving a battle, and now we just like we need to rest, we need to be nurtured, we need to have fun again, we need to be creative. And that ultimately goes back to like, what did you like doing as a child before like the responsibilities of being adult started weighing you down? Like how can you go back to having fun? Like how can you come back to just like the joy of life? People really lost the joy of life these past couple of years, just being so scared.
Yeah, I think like we just need, I would say, like daily interactions with other people too. Like even if it's not like hanging out with your friends, like I think as you get older, everyone has jobs, everyone has stuff. People are having families and children. It's like it's not realistic to hang out with your friends every day, but to literally like see other humans and be outside
Mhm.
and interact, because I feel like we're almost sanctioned off into our own little like virtual realities, which is like
Yeah.
stressful.
It's really funny. Like the rise of the metaverse is just going to make people more isolated and lonely,
Yeah.
which is the exact opposite of what a human needs to thrive. It's why like the worst thing that you can do to someone in prison is to throw them into solitary confinement. We're just not meant to be alone. We're not solitary creatures. We get
No.
really, really messed up when we choose to be alone for a variety of reasons, be it self-isolation or just like mental illness. Maybe, I mean, like, I'm sure like the desire for self-isolation is a form of mental illness.
Oh yeah, and like even just like the way that we
And I'm not talking about like the need to like self-isolate to regulate, because I personally
yeah, I
need to
love
do that.
alone time.
Yeah, like alone time and self-isolation are very different. Like self-isolation is harmful to humans. Like alone time is most of the times beneficial.
Yeah, and I think like one thing that I kind of just disagree with, like in terms of like the way that we used to view spirituality, is like the way that we'd have, not that people doing it now it's wrong, whatever you want, but like monks and nuns, and like you have to go away on a mountain and pray by yourself to like be able to connect with God. And I feel like what we need more than that is the connection with each other, to be like reminded that we have that spark, that God like within us. And I think maybe just in society then, like that was what they needed, but I don't think we need to do that now. Like we need to connect with each other.
Yeah, especially now, just due to the vast amount of isolation that occurred, for sure.
Yeah. Well, let me see if there's any other questions. Oh, I did want to ask you a few questions in terms of like your relationship with like the divine feminine energy. Like, do you feel like there is like an archetype or an energy within that you connect with? Like, I personally feel very connected to Isis. I don't know if you have like a certain part of it that feels connected, or do you just view it as like one thing?
No, there are actually multiple aspects of femininity. There's just like we all, it's the same thing with men, like we all file into like certain personality segments. Like there's like the queen, the wild one, kind of just like people that are more reserved, kind of like more of a fawn type woman. Like these are all aspects, that personality types that we all fall into. For me, a goddess that I really like my personal archetype is Artemis. So she is the goddess of hunt, and then also helps with childbirth, and is just kind of like a overall just like caretaker of the ladies. And so her temple, it was just like all ladies that would abstain, and then like if anybody broke the the abstaining rule, they would just like be punished and then like kicked out from where they were. That was like their whole thing. They were just like, we just they wanted their vessel to be pure so that they could just receive information. Because I mean, like, there's a lot of energetic stuff that happens when you're intimate. So it took me a while to understand why that was required, but it's like chastity is just something that is required of people that are really living a spiritual life at times, because you just the energy wave is different if that portal is like open and in use, is what I'm realizing.
Can I don't know how like deep you want to get, but does that count? Does masturbation count, or is it like, because I know certain people say like you cannot masturbate if you're celibate, and other people say
I mean, for me
that's different.
personally, it energetically, like there is a difference. Like there's just like really being celibate, and then there's like abstaining from sex in general, while like still self-pleasuring. It just depends on how deep you want to go with that personal practice. So I was abstaining from sex for a really long time, and that just gave me a lot of personal clarity. And I got familiar with the energies in my body, because there was no other energy to confuse it with. It was just me. So now, like in moments where I am intimate, I can clearly feel another human's energy. Like I can clearly feel when it is not my energy. So that is what my practice of abstaining taught me, is how to recognize another person's energy, which was extremely beneficial to my personal spiritual and sexual practice.
Yeah. Do you feel like if you were to be with someone, like, do you feel like that energy stays within your field? Like, I feel like that is possible. unless you're like clearing stuff out, but I don't know.
It's always there. That remark on energetic ties being there with who you're intimate with, which is why you should be careful and not always share yourself with everyone. And
Mhm.
also just know that like no one's entitled to having to like you don't have to share your body with anybody. That's also like a huge cultural issue I have right now, like the expectation that you have to share your body because sex is so easily shared and profited off of nowadays, specifically in Los Angeles. Um,
Do you think
that
is there like a huge rise of uh like self-made porn and stuff?
well, I mean, like that's the OnlyFans girls.
That's what I've noticed, but like which do whatever you want.
Yeah,
But
and hookup culture, like that is
yeah.
what just going back to what we brought up in the conversation of just one one pebble can cause huge ripples, bottom line. So the introduction of the OnlyFans girls, like it didn't necessarily seem harmful, but it did something to us culturally and societally. Like, yeah, you're entitled to do whatever you want, but like everything comes at a cost because everything in life is transactional. So like there are these moments of just like someone's kid at school finds out that like that kid's mom is an OnlyFans woman and then like just destroys this woman's child because who knows, like they're having a hard time at their house or they just like wanted to cause pain on this poor kid, but like have now ruined the ability for this child to go to school without getting bullied because his mom is doing the sort of work, right? And like they shouldn't be stigmatized so like from a societal level, but they are, and like now their child is impacted. So I'm saying like all of these things have consequences because
I
they
think
matter
too,
in
like,
society.
yeah, I think too, like, similar to a lot of things, but like that industry, there's a lot of game, there's a lot of like, if you're gonna get into like that, you should have like mentors and guidance and like just to go and randomly get into that industry without any knowledge of how it works, I think can be dangerous because it's like these 18-year-old girls, they don't have any support, they don't know how things work, they don't know how money works, and I feel like the people can get taken advantage of so much more than if it was more of like
Yeah, you can definitely be exploited in more ways than one in like
yeah,
all stages of your life, mind
yeah,
you, because the
yeah.
world is like pretty harsh out there. That's why it's like important to always have your back, but also like be positive and optimistic, but just like know that like the world doesn't have to be nice to you and most likely isn't going to be nice to you, but it's how you choose to be in the world. Like I choose to be nice, I choose to show up nice, but if you fuck with me, I will match your energy or most likely like be even worse to like scare you and make you get away from me, which is like that's not who I want to be, but just as a matter of just like survival, that's who I will be. It's like if you see like we have I have there's freaking coyotes everywhere no matter where I go, but like those coyotes are not scared. So if it's like that coyote or my dog, like I am coming for that coyote. You know what I mean? Like there are just some
Yeah.
points in life, particularly like if you feel threatened where you're just like like it is like I value me and my life over this other person, place, or thing.
I think like yes, sometimes you really have to. I think that is the both the aspects of the feminine. Like sometimes you have to be the like I see at the mother bear, like you're defending yourself or others, and sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah, but I think that's like feminine rage is also really beautiful. Like it gets stuff done. Like I appreciate my feminine rage at times, and other times I am embarrassed by it, particularly in like huge hormonal shifts where I'm like, I know it's not me, but it's happening for, like physiologically, and I feel crazy and everything's shifting and I'm uncomfortable. So it's making me act out in ways that like I normally wouldn't act out in.
Do you have like certain practices you do like at different parts of your cycle, or do you just kind of like let it guide you?
I kind of just go with the flow. I'm getting very sensitive to people around me. So like my cycle will do everything in its power to stay in its rhythm and not be affected by people around me. But if people are going through their cycle, like my mood gets dramatically affected, and I can feel that. Like my cycle will not start, but like I will pick up a lot of more shifts in like the premenstrual stage than I normally would. So if I spend a lot more time around the office, and everybody is like, I don't know, women just fascinate me because like our cycles will sync up and just like things will start shifting naturally. So like I'll feel it and I'll just be like, this isn't me. Like this, once again, going back to my practice and what taught me, I'm like, this energy isn't mine, but my body's picking up on it and it's acting on it, but I can't stop it. So I just like I feel it all. It's weird. And maybe that's just because I'm more self-aware, but like it'd be really cool if we taught young women how to be this aware, and how to really like read their cycle, be in tune with their cycle, natural methods on helping kind of like menstrual uncomfortable symptoms like cramps. Like for me, it's like nausea, just like natural remedies, herbal remedies.
There's so many amazing herbs that help
Yeah.
like with cramps and all sorts of stuff. But I feel like that's just not, it's like the most accessible thing, yet we don't know.
Yeah, we've lost literacy with a lot of things in humanity that were beneficial to us in nature. That makes me uncomfortable, but it's something that's easily remedied if you make it a point to teach people. And I think like at a certain point, maybe that's where the algorithm is helpful there. If you show a little bit of interest, it'll just show you the limitless options that there are. Because for me personally, like I don't like taking any sort of pharmaceutical if I don't really have to. Because I know that there is a natural alternative. And ultimately, like when you do need these remedies, like when you need like the hardcore stuff, like they won't be as effective for you because you build up a tolerance. So
Yeah.
I'm trying, like I honor everything that people like. I honor any healing modality that people choose to use that is with good intentions and isn't coming from a place of just like, oh, the easy remedy, like the band-aid. Like we don't want the band-aid, we want the actual healing.
Yeah, I think it's like, obviously if you break your leg, like go to the hospital, but like with herbs, like they're gonna help you more long term. So like it will help you in with your cramps like this cycle, but if you continue to use them, if you're using like the right things for yourself, like it could make your cycles less painful in the future. So it's like the
Yeah,
cumulative effect, which is going to be better than just taking
exactly.
like
Advil or Midol.
Tylenol or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But once again, I think you said it earlier, just goes back to the quick fix that our culture really wants.
Yeah, we're not used to like I feel like we don't trust time in America at all. Like we're like, I don't if I can't see the result like right away, we're like, I don't think that's legit.
But nothing, nothing in life does that. Like, you know what I mean?
No.
This is what I mean. We have lost literacy with life and nature. Like, would you trust a chicken that turned from like a baby chick to a full chicken in 2 days? I'd be like, no, what the fuck is wrong
We're
with that
gonna have
chicken?
those out next year. Don't worry.
Like I would be sus as fuck about that chicken. I'd be
Yeah.
like, no, like I want the slow grown fucking little chicken that just like looks like that looks delicious, because like them big chickens be looking scary, like they can't even
Yeah,
walk. I'm like, no, I don't
the
want to eat that. Like,
double-breasted chicken
yeah,
breast.
like
I'm
that
like,
chicken looks like it looks fat, like it can't even stand on its own. I'm like, that chicken does not look healthy. It looks like it's maybe suffering from obesity and like type 2 chicken diabetes. Like I do not want to eat that chicken. Chicken does not look appetizing. Like I want the little athletic chicken.
yeah, I want those
You know?
that lean meat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny, but it's scary because I just feel like I don't know. I think so many other societies, their medicine works so differently than ours. Like even just Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, it's like all based on your individuality, and we don't really have that. So it's so
Mhm.
easy for us to be like, okay, well, I tried this and it didn't work, but it might not be like right for you, but
Yeah.
it's right for me.
Yeah.
So I think,
Exactly. Like all
yeah.
pharmaceuticals just hit my body really, really hard. It especially like as I've grown older, like even like red wine, I cannot drink that anymore without like getting some crazy effects.
I wonder if you have histamine, a histamine reaction.
I mean,
That
like
might be.
probably like I'm not like allergic per se, but then like I get really flush, and then like
I've been
my
just learning about the
nasal starts
histamines
to rush.
recently, like, and they're very, it's like it makes it really easy to have like a reaction where you're like itchy or red and stuff, but it's not necessarily only with foods. Like it can be with like heat and stuff too. And I'm just
Oh,
fascinated.
interesting. Yeah, like now like large levels of stress make me itchy.
The histamines.
I know I have a
Look
histamine
into
to
it. I'm
stress.
like, I don't know why I'm just like getting this might be helpful to look into.
Histamine.
But yeah, I think certain like red wine and like I mean it's in like a lot of yummy stuff. I think it's in like a lot of spicy stuff.
Oh my gosh, I hope
And
it's
like
not in any spicy stuff. That would be like so sad.
it might be in pepper, like certain kind of peppers.
That'd be tragic for me. I like love peppers.
But I don't think it's
I
like what's in there. It's like I don't know how to explain it. You'll have to look it up. It's like a enzyme reaction thing with like
mm-hmm.
something that's in there. I'm just starting to learn about it because a bunch of people have been bringing it up recently. So I'm like, okay, this is something I need to know about.
Oh, that they're just getting sick?
Like I had a conversation with one of my mentors, and she, like, we were talking about food and stuff, and she was talking about how she's on like a low histamine like diet thing because she was having this like reactions like like bloating and like discomfort, and then also like
Mm.
skin reactions. But then I've had multiple of my like facial clients talk to me about like histamine reactions, and it's something that comes up sometimes with people because with waxing, like people can have a
Oh,
histamine reaction where they get like it looks like little pimples or something.
yeah, like hives.
Yeah, like almost like hives, but they're like they have pus in them. So but it's just been coming up the last like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm like, when something like that happens, I'm always like, okay, I need to learn about this.
Yeah,
But I have like a lot of food
interesting.
intolerances and like food stuff, so I am like, maybe I have histamines because I get like rashes and stuff like that sometimes.
Maybe. So how do you, I guess, limiting your diet?
There's like certain foods to avoid, I think. But then I don't know if
Mm.
it's like an allergy per se, but more of like a reactive thing. So I think if you like limit them for a certain amount of time, then it gets better.
Yeah, it's just like an intolerance
Yeah, I
to.
don't think it's like you have to take them out of your diet forever. But again, I just started learning about this. So someone listening is going to be like, I know way more about this than you. I'm getting frustrated.
Okay. I mean, this would okay, I think I'm like tin hat coming back again. I swear this is Miss Rona and us just like stuffing our faces with like all the stuff we like bought in our to fill up our pantries because we were all scared. So apparently foods that are high in histamines are alcohol, champagne, red wine, beer, and white wine.
Probably a
Anything
lot of
that's
processed foods,
yeah,
right?
fermented foods
Bing,
or
bing,
smoked
bing.
meats, sardine. Oh my God, I love mackerel. So sad. Herring, tuna, salami, pickled or canned food, sauerkraut, pickles have histamine. They're high in histamines. I love
It must be
sauerkraut and
something to do with
pickles.
salt or something, maybe.
Yeah, sauerkraut, pickles, relishes, soy sauce. Yogurt is
Yogurt.
fermented. Yeah, aged cheese like Parmesan, Gouda, Swiss, cheddar, dried fruit like strawberries and citrus, vegetable, the nightshades, tomatoes, tomato products, spinach, legumes like chickpeas, soys, peanuts.
Oh my God, it's a lot of
Wow.
things. Yeah, I kind of had a feeling it was going to be the nightshades because I've heard that they can have people react like eggplant and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, nightshades really mess people up. And as a person whose diet and cultural
The
background,
salt. What are you going to do without salsa?
yeah, dude, it's all nightshades, like all like
Straight up
egg
nightshade juice. with the
eggplant,
lemon
like
and
tomatoes.
lime and shit. No.
It'd just be onion and cilantro, just like sadly, no tomato.
At least you have cilantro.
Some people can't eat cilantro because it tastes like soap to them.
I heard that. It's like
It's a genetic
weird
thing.
genetic
Yes.
thing.
How bizarre is that? Humans are
That-
so strange. That's why I'm like, you can't like, we can't just rush into things. I'm sorry, but like we're still dumb. Like we're not like even evolved to handle social media.
Yeah, we need like everything needs to slow down. We've like gone from
It's
like
gone way too fast.
railroads to like AI in like 100
No,
years.
I'm sorry. Like
Calm down, guys.
we can't even get a handle on our AI. Like
Did you hear about this will be the last thing and then I'll let you go because we've been talking over what I told you we would spend time doing.
oh.
But did you hear about the Google AI that is like becoming sentient?
No, it evolved. Stop it. No, I'm done. I'm
His
scared.
name
That
is
scared me.
Lambda. His name is Lambda. It's kind of scary. This was maybe like sometime earlier this year. He like I don't know what that exactly means that he became sentient, but like he's consciously aware of himself being an AI or something. I don't know.
I'm shook.
So that's a little scary. But I don't know. I think they have like a body for him, like a robot like body for him or whatever. So I wish I had no, I think I have my phone. I'll look up what he looks like because he's so scary.
What? What? That sounds like we just made Ultron.
Let me see it.
But IRL. We all know how that went down in that fake universe.
Oh shit. Okay. I'll have to send it to you. I'll put it on Instagram for those listening. Can't find him. But they had like a weird, it looked like just like a crash test dummy type thing.
Wow.
Then he can like move his arms and stuff. If I'm getting any of these facts wrong, you guys, I'm not a reporter, so.
I am not a reporter.
This is just like some Googling and some TikToks that I saw. So I'm not an expert. But yeah. Well, anything else you want to share with us? I know, so you have, if people want to listen to our other episode, we talk about your crystal jewelry, but people can find you on your website if you want to drop any
you
links.
can visit thegangsterhippie.com, and we have a selection of sustainably grown and harvested herbs via white sage and palo santo. We have our jewelry line, and then we have individual crystals as well for your meditation needs.
Cool. What's your favorite crystal right now?
Honestly, it's not a crystal, it's just gold. But metal amplifies all crystal properties. So I think and if you bond with your crystals enough, you can kind of just like talk to them and match with them like on an energetic frequency, which is where I am. You're basically like Magneto levels shenanigans with your crystals, but I think like they want like a conductor. So I think that's why I'm being called to just work with gold.
So are you gonna make like some pieces with the gold and like a full gold? What's it called? 24 karat gold. I don't know if that's the fanciest gold.
Sticking with gold filled because that's what's most economical and usually like durable. And like I have really beat up some of the items I'm going to be releasing soon via wear test, and like our rings have pretty much withstood some really intense wear testing, like ocean, mud,
nice,
tire changing, washing dishes, all the stuff, and they've like stood the test of time, which I'm happy about.
Cool. Well, awesome. Well, people can check it out. And yeah, thanks so much for talking with me today.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. And yeah, we'll put your links in the show notes so people can find you on social media and all the things. And then we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Thanks for having me.